How to grow almond trees in the UK. There are many nuts growing here in the forest garden. Sweet chestnuts, brilliant for roasting and grinding up to make a nutty, strong, white, gluten-free bread flour. I used some in my Christmas recipes video. There are the walnuts over there. They're still too young to have come to fruition yet, but they're getting there. And good old reliable hazelnuts and cobnuts, a firm favourite of mine, but also of the local squirrel population. And that's not to mention the leguminous, not really nuts, like the earth chestnuts or pig nuts, and the ever-stripy little tiger nuts. They're the semi-aquatic, sedge-like plant whose starchy little tubers make an excellent cooking oil. One much overlooked nut, however, especially here in the UK, where people assume it won't do well, is, of course, the almond. On a hill
near a wood
where nobody goes,
up a track
through a gate,
the food forest grows, with secrets and treasures for everyone's pleasure, and Rob's discovery.
Almonds are actually part of the stone fruit family, things like peaches and nectarines and plums. And when they're on the tree, they actually look like hard green, fuzzy little peaches. And it's actually the kernel, the seed inside, that is the almond that we eat. And I suppose being part of the stone fruit family, that's why in recipes they go so well with things like plums. See, it looks like a plum stone, doesn't it? But this will need breaking out of its shell before we can eat the sweet, soft almond inside. Although general cultivation is reasonably straightforward, to get the best from an almond, you need to give careful consideration to siting, for this isn't just a tree you can plant anywhere and expect it to thrive. The more sun, the better. Although it is tricky because almond trees blossom very early in the year. In fact, many people have them for their sweet pink flushes of blossom in the early spring. They often flower in early March, but this one flowered in January this year, as did its partner over there, behind me. I have two almond trees, and they are both Ingrid, which is their variety. Many people just have the standard Prunus dulcis just because of their blossom, but the Ingrid really is a good heavy cropper and it can tolerate the UK climate a lot better. But what really helps it tolerate the UK climate is the fact that it's grafted on to a St. Julian's rootstock, which is a plum rootstock. and otherwise it wouldn't be able to tolerate the often waterlogged, heavy, wet soil here, because almonds like free draining, a nice dry soil. So that's one way of growing them in the UK. An almond tree can do well in an orchard setting in more favoured areas, like here in the forest garden. A site in the centre of an orchard, however, is often far more advantageous because the tree can gain some protection from the surrounding trees. But also, any wind in the winter will blow the blossoms off, seeing as they flower so early, and no blossom means no almond harvest. I've known of people growing almond trees in pots, but they're not nearly as vigorous as when they're in the ground, and especially on the St. Julian's rootstock, which can let it grow up to about 15 feet, like this one. Although with late summer judicious pruning, you can keep them happily down to about 10 feet, although either way, harvesting can become a problem when they get this tall. But my method, well, it may be just the method, but I've learned it for myself, is to give the tree a really good vigorous shake, and almonds ripen from the top of the tree downward. So any that are ripe at the top fall off and you pick them up. I really ought to have cut the grass around the tree to start with to make finding them easier. How exciting to pick your first crop of beautiful sweet nuts in their furry capsules. You should wait until late October before harvesting, which is about now. Often, when the capsules start to split open, it's a good sign that the nuts are ripe, and at this stage the flavour will have fully developed. If they've not split open, however, the fruiting capsules can be dried on a sunny windowsill for a further 2 or 3 weeks until it's possible to easily extract the nuts. Because almonds are self-fertile, pollination isn't really an issue, although having 2 of them does increase your yield slightly. I often see the blossoms pollinated by any early foraging bumblebees, but occasionally I do see the honeybees on them too. And seeing as there's a beehive just over there, that's probably why there's such a good crop this year. A daily shake of the tree is normally good enough, but sometimes I just want to harvest them all at once, so I get the stepladder out. It's useful being tall sometimes. Something else that's worked out very, very conveniently is that the squirrels haven't learned that almonds are nuts yet. Shh, don't tell them. They're always listening. It's not a bad crop, considering that I'd already picked over half of them before deciding to make this video. there's been a heavier crop year after year with the almond trees, and considering they're only 5 years old, I think that's pretty good. I'm told they only live till about 10, which is really hard to believe considering their vigour at the moment. If you do need to replant with a fresh tree, then be sure it's in a different area and not in the same soil as the original tree to prevent the diseases they're prone to, such as canker and leaf curl, the same as affects plums and peaches, and treated in the same way. I can see why almonds are so expensive, if that's all the nut you get from the huge pod. But have you ever had a fresh almond? It smells like marzipan. Tastes like marzipan. That is so very, very sweet. So sweet. It's a bit of a runt of an almond. Now, most of us are used to eating the kind of dry almonds that you buy in packets or jars, and they're pretty wonderful, especially if they're soaked or baked or in recipes. But a fresh almond, until about 3 or 4 years ago, I had no idea what it was like. It's a completely different experience. Now, I must save the rest of these and dry them and put them in jars for the winter, but there's nothing quite like a fresh almond. And besides, that's just today's crop. There are plenty more on the trees out there. Oh, earwig. Sorry. Hello. So long as you consider the early blossoming of the almond tree and its potential short-livedness, then they really are worth it. If not only for that glorious late winter blossom, then certainly for the sweet and oily, delicious late autumn nuts. Well, better get cracking. I had to say it, didn't I? Would you like to see more of these videos for free? Well then, click on the bell icon and subscribe button and never miss out again. Or, for an existing reservoir of myriad tips and ideas for establishing your own forest garden, large or small, including what not to do, then there are many others on this channel to choose from. If you like what I do and want to support the channel, then you can go to my Patreon page. The link's in the description. You get to watch all my videos early and see some things that no one else gets to see. I mostly speak with my patrons in a private group chat on Telegram, which is fun. Mostly. Plus, I'm learning a lot more from them than they are from me, which is great. Once again, thank you very much for watching, and see you soon. Bye!